At mid-morning, a one-ton coffin borne on the shoulders of 51 imperial guards brought Emperor Hirohito on his final journey. And shoes for the journey to heaven of a man once thought a living god. No one knows if the new emperor, Akihito, will follow the old tradition. So much has changed, including Yase. Yase and the imperial family have a special relationship.
I was so surprised and worried that the tradition is being destroyed.
At the funeral hall in Shinjuku Garden, the ceremony of farewell, the imperial family paying their last respects to the man who symbolized his nation through 62 years of war, peace, and prosperity.
In bitter cold and driving rain, the procession moved on to the road outside, where the first of hundreds of thousands of people had been waiting for several hours to see it pass. The coffin's destination was the wooden funeral hall, especially constructed in the park from Japanese cypress. But only those intimately concerned with the imperial family and household would enter it to take part in the Shinto funeral rites.
Across Japan, thousands of people are demonstrating against that. Meanwhile, here in Britain, hundreds of war veterans will be remembering their comrades who died in the Japanese camps.
News. To millions of his countrymen, he was a god. To millions of others around the world, he remains a war criminal.
For the Emperor of Enlightened Peace, the artillery heralded his last journey through the city. In near-freezing temperatures, some of his people came to mourn. While before the ceremony began here, protocol was breached. Police quickly subduing 2 demonstrators who tried to disrupt the motorcade. But the elaborate security measures paid off. The 32-car procession snaked its way to the Imperial Gardens without incident. Not since the funeral of President John F. Kennedy has there been a more impressive lineup of world leaders. Here, as one Japanese observer said, not so much to mourn the death of the Emperor, but as a sign of Japan's economic position in the world.
今その外国のテレビで放送された番組そのものの一部を見ていただいたわけですけれども、実は磯村さん、この番組ができるまでって言いますかね、その取材から制作の過程、これが大変興味があるんですね。
そうですね。視聴者の皆さんは平野さんというとここにくくりつけられている姿を想像するんですけれども、一つここスタジオを飛び出していただいてですね、平野記者の昔に帰って一つ取材してもらいましたので、それをご紹介したいと思います。
でこの人は、アメリカ ABC の夜のニュース番組ワールドニューストゥナイトのキャスターのピーター・ジェニングスさんです。で先週の日曜日に日本にやってきました。実は私と彼の出会いはジュネーブ・レイキャビックと続いて最後は2年前サミットが行われたベネツィアでのことでした。でキャスターと一緒に東京にやってきた ABC のスタッフ総勢80人に上ります。ABC では今週1週間30分のニュース番組ワールドニュースナイトを毎日東京から生放送しています。でジェニングスさんは建物の中にではなくて JR 渋谷駅の近くにオープンスタジオを作りました。日本から伝えるニュースの背景をとても大切だと考えたからでした。
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Reporting tonight from Tokyo.
Good evening and good morning from the other side of the international date line. It is now Tuesday morning. A word about why we are here for the week. On Thursday, more than 100 world leaders, including President Bush, will be here for the funeral of the Japanese Emperor Hirohito. In itself, his funeral is primarily of interest to the Japanese, except that it marks the beginning of a new era in the life of a nation which is of paramount importance to the rest of the world. In an ABC News Washington Post poll, which we did for this week, 44% of the Americans we talked to believe that Japan's economic power is a greater threat to the U.S. than the military power of the Soviet Union.
時差の関係で東京からの放送時間は朝になります。ですからその日の放送が終わった後、翌日の取材の打ち合わせですとか撮影を行います。で今回の彼のリポートを通じて彼は日本人を分析しようというふうに試みているようでした。
No one in Japan would ever consider crossing against a red light unless everyone crossed against a light. In Japan, it is not in anyone's interest to express their individuality.
ニュース番組のキャスターになって5年目、ジェニングスさんの旅柄姿もすっかり板についたようです。
The Japanese say Americans fail to understand their national way of life. What does it take to be successful here? For a company wanting to do business here, find a Japanese partner and be prepared to build a relationship over time.
Love me tender, love me sweet.
This is important because it is very often over drinks in the karaoke bar, where business is conducted much less formally, but no less importantly, that a Japanese businessman will tell you how he really feels about your product. They call it honne, real feelings.
平野さんはピーター・ジェニングスはワシントン特派員時代は知ってましたか？
その時は彼はロンドンにいたんです。
あ、そうですか。まだこの商売やってなかったんですね。
はい。ということで先ほどそのピーターにですね、一体どういう視点で日本を取材したかそれを聞いてみたんですが。Peter, you have done a lot of reporting from Tokyo this time, and what has been the central theme or philosophy of your reporting this time?
I think what we've been trying to do on this occasion, Jiro, is to learn more about you and hopefully understand more about you. We came to the Emperor's funeral because so much of the world was coming, and that makes it a major news story and a major passing in terms of post-war political figures. But it was really a good opportunity for us to try to take a closer look at the American-Japanese relationship, which you know as well as I do is a very important one to Americans. And I think you also know that Americans probably don't understand as much about the Japanese as you'd like us to.
I see. Well, in your reporting, you use the words like Shinjinrui or honne. And what's your honne about Japan, Peter?
Well, it's difficult. I find myself more confused than I have on previous occasions. My true feelings are this time that you're going very fast and that you are perhaps not altogether comfortable with all these new riches. But having said that, having given you my true feelings, I emphasize that I've only been here a week, and in some respects that's a very superficial opinion.
Well, has Japan changed in the last 3 years?
My sense is that from the last time I was here, you're all going much faster. I also sense, at least among the Japanese I've had a chance to talk to in the last week, that you are searching around to try to define for yourselves the role you would like to play in the world now that you are clearly becoming so much more influential in the world. And I would have to tell you, in the tradition of honne, that I'm not altogether sure you have it worked out. I hope Japanese won't think me presumptuous for saying that, but that's how I feel at the end of this week.
I see. Well, do you think that Japan is on the right track right now?
Well, I certainly think it's very important that you're thinking about it. I think that those of us in America who believe in the world being a very independent place or interdependent place are impressed by the degree of aid and support that you in Japan are giving to the developing world. You are now a more significant contributor to the developing world than the United States is. I personally happen to think that is very important. I guess just as an individual, I would like to see Japan speak out more in the Japanese-American relationship and not, as you appear to be on occasion, be embarrassed about your independence or your accomplishments.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter.
As I said, forgive me if you think me too outspoken.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. Good luck.
Thanks.
少し言い過ぎたというようなことも最後には言ってますけれども、これがアメリカの言ってみれば報道の姿勢と報道のやり方なんです。それでは続いてそのアジアを見てみたいと思うんですけれども、まず韓国になります。韓国の KBS 放送、これは夕方まで放送を休んでいますけれども、放送再開の直後、午後5時半のニュースの6項目でこの体操の